Peace be to you. I wish to share with you the testimony of a Muslim lady called Fatimah, who was inflicted with a critical illness, but she was miraculously healed after a short prayer by a Christian lady. Christian shall be defined as a person who declares Jesus Christ is God by the Holy Spirit of truth, who dwells inside the soul of the person concerned. In accordance with the principle of John 16 verse 15, the Spirit of truth will speak for Jesus Christ, who co-owns every word of his Father Yahweh, as the nature of Yahweh does not change with time, based on Malachi 3 verse 6, as Elohim said, "For I am Yahweh, I change not." The three in unity, as mentioned in John 16 verse 15, have coexisted originally and eternally as one. In John 16 verse 15, Lord Jesus said, "All whatever that the Father has, is mine. On this account I have said to you, that of mine he the Spirit of truth will take, and will show you." Unquote. Aramaic Etheridge version. There is no legal right for any person to speak for another person without his or her permission, called the power of attorney under the law. So I shall put the words of Fatimah into an avatar in order to conceal her true identity.
I was born as Fatimah, daughter of Pir Muhammad. My father was an Indian. My mother is a Malay. So I have two cultures. I have the Indian culture as well as the Malay culture. My mother comes from Malaysia. She was born and brought up in Malaysia, and she came to Singapore. And my father was born and brought up in Singapore, but his family comes from Karinalur in South India. And my family comes from what is known as the priesthood family. Like in the scriptures, you have the Christians who have one tribe known as the Levites, who take care of God's people and of God's ministry. My family comes from a priesthood. So my great-grandfather was an imam in a mosque. My grandfather was an imam. My father was an imam. And today my brother is an imam in a mosque. And I have two brothers and two sisters. I'm the eldest in the family. And as a young girl growing up, I was also trained to be a religious leader because my family comes in that line. So I used to teach children and also women how to study the Quran, anything particular to the religion. And if everybody fasts for 30 days in a year for the Ramadan month, my family and I particularly will be fast for 40 to 45 days in a year. So it's a continuous one. Today I am known, in fact, as a staunch and a fanatic Christian. I was a very staunch and a fanatic Muslim because that's what I know, and I grew up with that, and that's what I was. So it doesn't matter where I was, I will drop to my knees to pray 5 times in a day. And my family was known to be someone that we are always helping someone in some ways. So I thank God that I do come from that background, because the disciplines that I went through as a Muslim is helping me a lot now as a Christian. And sometimes I think Muslims will, in general, put the Christians to shame, because many things that the Muslims do are the things that we as Christians are asked to do, and these are the things that God wants us to do, but we are not doing it, but the Muslims are doing it. And I learned as a child growing up many of the disciplines over there, and today I thank God that I came from that background, because it helps me to understand what Christianity is all about, and I apply in fact all that I learned as a Muslim being a Christian today. So there's so much that the Muslims can teach us in being what a Christian is, because they do not tell you what to do, but they live their life, and that shows us what it means to love God. As a Christian, you have to be someone who accepts the Lord, then you become a Christian. In Muslims, you get born. As a Muslim, you don't get converted. You are born. And when you get born in the family, you're a Muslim. It's accepted that you're a Muslim. So you grow up as a Muslim. And you do not doubt about this God, about this Allah that's being taught about. So we grew up with that. one day, when I was in my early 30s, probably about 32, 33, I've just finished my responsibility towards my family, in helping my sisters and my brothers finish their education, finishing whatever, as the elder sister I was to my siblings, to help them come up. And when my youngest brother, who's 13 years younger than me, he was born very late, 13 years younger than me, has finished his 10th, as you call it over here, the Cambridge School Certificate, I was like, wow, I'm free now. I'm going to conquer the world because I have been tied down with family responsibilities, and now I was ready to go and do whatever I wanted to do. And as I was thinking about this, I even have gone to the travel agents to find out where I can travel. I love to travel, but never have been out of Singapore, not even to Malaysia till that age, because I just stayed in Singapore all the time. So as I was thinking about it and making plans, I was struck down with a disease, not just one, two of it, no, three of it. One was that I was diagnosed with what is known as osteoporosis, which was depleting my bones at a very drastic rate, so much so that my bones were just, it was like as though it was just being washed out from my body, and I was wobbling, and my joints were all swollen up and was not able to move around. Then the other thing that I had was diagnosed with was rheumatoid arthritis that has again attacked all the ligaments in all my joints, and it was all reddish, and the third thing that I had was leukemia of the blood. And all three came at one go, and I was like, what in the world is happening? And of course, as a Muslim, I should have just taken it and lie down and die because Muslim religion is a fated religion. Whatever is given to you, you just accept it. You have no say about it. You see, my concept of God, being a Muslim, was He is a God and He's way up there. And He's a holy God, And we as human beings, we cannot come into His presence because we are sinners. So there's a big gulf between us and God. So there's no way you can go to Him. You can pray, you can, stay, but you have to stay at your place. You can't come to Him. That kind of a concept that we have in Islam. So, but for some reason, and I thank God that I had the fighting spirit, because when I was reduced to this, I was like, no way. Because I have struggled a lot as a child, and I've struggled along even in my young adulthood to, be a support for my family, and I didn't, I could not even get married because of my family and responsibilities. So I was like, I am free now, and I'm going to live my life, and this sentence of death was something that I couldn't accept. So though as a Muslim and though as a religious leader and knowing all the things, I was like, my fist was up to heaven and say, how dare you do this to me? How can I possibly accept this? It's my time to live, and you take away my life, and you can't. And as I was thinking about it, one of my friends, the person that I know as a friend came to my mind. I used to be a teacher in a college, and in this college there was another lady who used to be there as a teacher, and every time we will come into the the teacher's lounge, she will be seated way over the other side and I'll be seated over here. Not that we hated each other, it's just that there was a competition between her God and my God. And she is an Anglican, and when you look at her, there's no way you want to compete with her because she's a very nice person. She will come, and before she sits down at her table, at the student lounge, and I know that she's praying. She will just stand there for a minute with her eyes closed and with her hands clasped like this, and she'll be saying, I don't know what she's saying, but I know she's praying. And then after that, she will sit down. And then, anything I talked to her initially was like, in every sentence, she had the word God. Like, my God can do anything. There's nothing my God cannot do. There's no impossibility with my God. I got really irritated with her, because there's no sentence, there's nothing you can share with her where the word God is not brought in, where God is not talked about. So for her God was her everything. But she was not someone who's pushy or someone, who's very vocal. She would just say it in a very gentle way. But you see, for me, I was a Muslim, and my God was greater than your God. So, and I was dressed as a Muslim. Right now, today, you can see my hands and my face, but in those days, you can't. My hair was very long, and I was all like, you see the Muslims here. I was in the same way over there, everything covered up, and I go to work like that. And the only man that can see me uncovered in that sense will be my brothers or my father. That's it. But other than that, nobody else is allowed to see. So we had this understanding without making it very clear. You keep your God to yourself, and I'll keep my God to myself. So you stay on your side, and I'll stay on my side. We worked like this for 10 years in the same college. Okay? I mean, we respected each other, but we will not talk about nothing, And I will go like this with my finger whenever I talk to her. That means you don't talk to me about your God. That kind of thing. So when I was struck with this sentence of death, she was the one that I was thinking of. But by then, I've left the college. It's already 2 years that I have moved out from the college, and I don't know where to contact her. But of course, being an intelligent woman that I think I am, I should have gone to the directory to look for her, her phone or something. But it didn't occur to me. I was just lying down in bed at home, and I wish I could speak to her. I was just thinking like that. And the phone rang in my house. And my brother comes and says, your friend is on the line. And I was like, no, I'm not interested in talking to any friend. But I said, okay, I'll just take the phone. And guess what? She's on the line. Okay, it's 2 years that has passed by since I've seen her or spoken anything. And I don't know where to get in touch. And I'm just thinking, okay. And then she comes on the phone. And I was like, really? It's you? Then I said, I was just thinking about you. And she says, yeah, I was thinking about you too. Then I said, that's unusual. Then I said, can I come over because I need to talk to you? I've got something on my mind and I need to. She said, yeah, sure, come on over. And I dash all the way down to my flat, and then I pick up a cab and I dash over to her house. She's staying near the airport, which is like, if you're taking a taxi, it will probably take you about an hour to get there, which means it's really quite far. And I get to her house, and she knows I like to take tea. It's been 2 years, and she still knows I like to drink tea. So she's making tea for me. She says, take a seat, I'll make the tea, and she's making the tea. I'm sitting in the kitchen with her, and I'm like, will you please sit down? I want to talk to you. I'm not interested in the tea. I got to talk to you. And she says, yeah, go ahead, talk to me. And I'm with tears pouring down my face. I'm telling her within 3 months, the doctors have said that I'm dying. I'm going to turn up a cripple, and I'm dying. And she's still going on making the tea. And I say, are you listening? She said, yeah, I am. And I was like, did you hear that I'm dying? She said, yeah, I heard you. Then I say, and she comes up with her classic statement, but with God, yeah, I want to hear about your God. What can your God do? Can your God do something for me? And she says, yeah, he can. There's no problem. All you have to do is just tell him and he will work it out. I say, really? Then I said, okay, please sit down and pray. And then I say, are you supposed to do something like maybe pray for me? Can you pray for me? I'm asking her, okay? And she says, do you want me to pray for you? I say, yeah, that's why I came all the way here. So can you kind of pray for me? She says, yeah, okay. And I'm seated. I wear glasses, as you can see, but my eyesight is improving, so I don't have to sometimes put on my glasses. And I'm looking at her with my eyes open. She, with her classic way of praying, she sits down, folds her arms like this, closes her eyes, and she prays. Until today, I can tell you exact words that she prayed that day. She says, Father, your daughter has come home. Please help her to know who you are and help her to come home to you completely in every way. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. And I'm like, you finished? She said, yeah. Then I was thinking to myself, if somebody who's got a headache, a short prayer like that is okay. I'm dying, And I thought maybe you're supposed to have long prayers so that I don't know. I mean, I was thinking you have to talk to God a lot, okay? And that was it. She didn't tell me anything about Jesus. She didn't tell me anything about any God or anything, nothing, okay? This was her prayer. That was it. And I was like, nothing happened. No thunder from heaven or what do you call lightning. Nothing happened at all. And I'm like, And she says, okay, drink your tea. And I'm like having my tea. What in the world did I come here for? No? I felt very disappointed. I can use all the D words. I was disillusioned, discouraged, because I'd come all the way here thinking that, something is going to happen, and nothing happened. Okay. And then after that, she says, I'm very busy, can we see another day? So not when I was in that kind of I would thought she would spend a little time with me. I got dismissed somehow. So this time I didn't take any cab, I didn't take any bus. I started walking, not knowing what to do. Okay, I was really, if somebody is dying, I don't know what you're supposed to say, but I know what I will say the next time when I see someone who's dying. So I walked home that day. I don't know how long it took me. I just dragged myself home and went off to sleep. And the next morning I had a doctor's appointment. So I went off early in the morning to the doctor's. So from 8 o'clock right up to 12:30, they did a lot of tests on me, like blood scan, bone scan, I don't know what scan, so many tests. They sent me from one lab to another lab, and I did all the tests. And I finally came back at 12:30. The doctor said, can you go out and have lunch and whatever it is, come back in an hour's time. We have to do more tests on you. And I was like, I really was very tired. Then I said, yeah, but why? You already finished everything. No, we just need to do some more on you. So can you please come back? I said, okay. So I just went out to the canteen to have something, and then I came back. And 1 o'clock again, from 1 to 5:30, all over the same test, everything that was done in the morning was redone on me again in the afternoon. And then after that, about 6 o'clock, they called me into a small room. It was really very lighted up. We had about 6, 7 doctors in that room, and they put up all these scans they have done, all my my bone scan, everything. They put it on the place there, and they would say, this was done on you a month ago, this was done on you 2 weeks ago, this was done 1 week ago, and this was done in the morning, and this was done in the afternoon. And I was like, I'm tired, okay, and I'm like, I want to go home. I'm not interested in a biology class right now. Can I say, so what? I'm not even paying any much attention to it. I'm just tired, so the whole day I've been there. So the doctor said, will you please take a look? I say, yeah, so what? Suddenly, the bone structure caught my attention. I looked at the first one, it looked quite bad. The second one was worse, and the one that taken last week was terrible. You see, my bone structure at the joints, especially my wrist and my ankles, the bone has become like spikes. And it was getting very difficult for me to walk or to function because I was all swollen up, on my neck, right up all the way down. And I was really in a very terrible, I was like, and then I looked at the one that was taken in the morning. It looked perfect. Then I looked at the one in the afternoon. It looked perfect too. Then I say, is that me? Is that me? Yeah, it is. And that's why we need to talk to you. I say, yeah, really, what? Are you seeing any other doctors? Are you taking any other medication? You see, they did not give me any medication in this hospital for the 2 months they were looking at me. All they did was to give me some aspirins, that's all, and painkillers. So I was telling them, look, and I was going to blurt out, I've given all my money to you and I've got no more money to give. What other doctors? I'm not seeing any other doctors. Suddenly it hit me. She prayed for me yesterday. And I was like, oh my. So this God is really God. And I'm like not listening anymore to the doctors. I dash out of the hospital room and I go to the corridors, and I'm talking about 20 years ago, okay, my friends. In those days, we don't have cell phones. The cell phones just came around. In those days, you have to go to the public phone to make phone calls. So I dashed to that phone. I put in a coin. Actually, I didn't have any coins. There was a guy standing there making a call. I pushed him aside and I said, I got to make an urgent call. And then I was turning out no money. I got money from him, in fact, to make that call. And I made the call to call this friend, and I got her on the line, and I was saying, I am healed. And I'm screaming at the top of my voice in the corridor. Everybody there can hear me. I'm healed. And she says, yeah, I know. And I was like, you know? What do you know? God can do anything, no? God, yeah, but I want to hear about this God. You're going to talk to me about, yeah. Call me another time because right now I'm busy too. She said she's a tuition teacher. She was teaching people, students. So I was so excited. I didn't go back into that room. They probably were looking for me, but I walked out from there and I looked at myself after that. There was no more swelling in me, nothing. Okay, there might have been in the daytime when I came in there. I didn't realize it. Okay, but I was like, what's the word we use? Born again? I was really born again at that time. I have received healing. And I was so excited. And I was like, wow, He's God. He's really God. And He has healed me and I am okay. I was really excited, okay? And I'm still excited till today. Okay? So, again, that day, I walked home from that hospital. I was excited that I am healed now. I was well, and I walked home that day. And I would like to tell you that the very next day itself, I accepted God and I became a Christian. No. I started looking around. I didn't make any appointments with my friends after that. I started testing this God. I looked at my mother. She had fallen, and she had a swollen ankle. And I didn't really pray out loud. I just thought into my heart, if you are really God, you will heal her. Okay? That's all I said. Next morning I woke up, I went to see my mother. She's okay, she's healed. Then I started going around looking at my auntie, then my uncle, then my brother. Each one, okay? For the next 10 days, I tested this God. Gideon only tried 3 times, but I tested for 10 days whether He's really God. I said, if you're God, if you heal me, you can heal. So I started doing this for the 10 days. Then after that, I started reading the Bible. I had a Bible that was given to me when I was 16 or 17. I can't remember. And usually I throw stuff away when we move. But even though when we moved house, I apparently did not throw this Bible away. And I remembered that I had this Bible. So I went into it and I picked it up, and it was in a King James version. The thee and the thou, you know. Though I'm brought up in the British way of learning, the thee and the thou is not my cup of tea. So I had a hard time reading the Bible, but my friends, within 2 weeks, I have finished reading the Bible 50 times. I started from Genesis and I'll come to Lamentations. I skip it. Then I'll go to Song of Solomon. Song of Solomon is really a love story. And I was like, good God, this is a Bible. What is this book doing in this Bible? Is this really a Bible? Oh yeah, it says it's a Bible. So, you know, I'm an Indian. Okay, though I don't speak the language. I didn't grow up speaking the language. I'm very conservative. So when it comes to the language, it was really very explicit. And I said, God talks like that? Then I will skip the ones that I'm not very, don't want to read. I'll just go off, but I will go back. But I'll come back to the New Testament. I wanted to know who was this Jesus. I really wanted to know who He is. So I will go back again. I will read the gospel. I'll read. Then after that, I will walk up and down in my bedroom and I will talk to Him. You're really great. No, you came among us and you revealed yourself to us, that kind of thing. No, I was just talking. And came a time, I just felt that I cannot stay as a Muslim anymore. I had to accept this God. So finally one day, it was about by 3 weeks now, coming to the 4th week, I got up. I go to bed very late anyway, but that day, about 12:30, 1 o'clock, I went to the kitchen in our flat, and I've read the Bible so well, I know where each one, the story is and everything. So I turned to the book of Acts, chapter 9. And I opened it up and I put it on the floor on the kitchen. And I was telling God, I said, look, this guy is a real rotten guy. This guy killed so many of your people. But you were so marvelous, you know. You came and you helped him to know who you are. He saw you. And after that, he became your servant. And he wrote all the other epistles for you. You see, I'm not saying that I'm going to serve you, but you see, I'm born in this family. All I know is Allah. All I know is about this God. But you see, it is not He who's God. You are God. So now you have to help me to see you the way this guy saw you. Now, until I see you, I am very sorry, but I cannot come with you. All right? And I don't think I finished my conversation with him, because that night, that kitchen that I was standing on didn't look like a kitchen anymore. Suddenly there was a great bright light that flooded that whole kitchen that I was standing. And I mean, today, as I look out, I thank God for the sun that's out, and I appreciate the brightness. But it was nothing like what I saw that day. That whole place was just, and it was such a glorious, light that flooded that place. And in my mind, I'm thinking like, but where are you? I saw the light. I'm standing in the midst of the light. I can't see it's a kitchen anymore. It's just a beautiful place. I don't know where it is. And I'm standing and I'm thinking, but where are you? This is what is going on in my mind. And since I'm thinking, where are you? I hear this loud voice that came through the window. It was the loudest. You probably have loudspeakers and you're hearing me loud and clear today, but that voice that came through was much louder. It was quoting me John 1:1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word is God. It may not mean anything to you, but it meant a lot to me, because Jesus Christ, the Son of the living God, was a stumbling block to me to receive Him as God. Because we Muslims cannot believe that, God can have a son. If God has a son, that means He must have a wife. That means He's a mere human being. He can't be God. I couldn't accept that. But that word gave me insight. It gave me revelation that in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word is God. And He gave me the clarification that I needed, that understanding that I needed, that He is God. But you see, I still didn't see Him. And I still stood there and I said, where are you? Okay, I wasn't satisfied with just the light. I wasn't satisfied with that word. I wanted Him. I wanted to see Him. And it wasn't very long. With that split second, He stood in front of me. You want to ask me how He looks like? My friends, my English language is perfect. And when I think like in English. I don't speak any other language more than English. But I don't have any words to describe how He looked like. He was such a tall person, and He was so glowing, so beautiful, so handsome. I walked this earth. I've been to so many countries. I still can't find anybody who looks like Him. Okay. And He stood there just before me, and I was captivated by His eyes. Till that moment, till that day, I'm 30 plus at that time. I have never known what is love. Okay? I've never heard anyone say they loved me, not even my family, not even my parents, not even anyone. Because whatever I did for my family at that time was duty and obligation, not love. But this God was standing before me, and I was consumed by the love that was flowing from Him. And I was completely drawn into those eyes that He had. And He looked at me with that love. And in the next moment, I found myself as a baby in His arms, holding me. And He brought me back into the past to help me to know once and for all that He is God. And there's no one other like Him. And what He brought me was when I was a 12-year-old girl. I found myself as a 12-year-old. I was struggling with life. And I thought there was no other way. And I was getting ready to commit suicide. I was standing by a river that was swollen up because we had a storm that day. And I was going to throw myself over that river and end my life. And I remember that day, there were two hands that came and pulled me back. It was in the night. And I thought it was a ghost. And I ran all the way home. And He said, and as He brought me back to that scenario, He was telling me, I was there with you then. I am here with you now. And then He took me back to another stage when I was 28 years old. This time, I was going to commit suicide from the highest building. Because in Singapore, we have just started tall buildings, and it was known at that time. Many people were committing suicide by jumping off the buildings. 28 years old. I was with another crisis in my life, and I didn't know how to handle it. Again, I was getting ready to jump, and again, that time, there was a hand that came and pulled me back. And God says again, I was there with you then. I am here with you now. And my friends, That was it. That settled the issue for me, that He is God. And I went down on my knees. I had no one to lead me in sinner's prayer or anything, but I just went down on my knees with tears pouring down my face. You are my God, and I give my life over to you. From henceforth, I will walk with you. I am yours. That was my decision that I made in 1985 in April. And 2 weeks later, and a week later, I went for baptism. From then on, for the next 2 weeks, I suffered. I've never suffered before. Because I know what it means to become a Christian. I didn't dare tell my mother. If there's any one person that I have loved in my entire life, it's my mom. And she was the one that I didn't want to disappoint. But next morning when she got up, after that day that when I have made my commitment to God, she got up in the morning and she comes to me and she says, you have become a Christian. I didn't tell her. Because she can see from my face that I have changed. There was something about me that told her. And she's a woman who doesn't know anything about being a Christian. And in Singapore, when you say a Christian, it means a Catholic, not a Protestant, because they do not recognize the Protestants as Christians. I didn't know what to tell her. I didn't know how to explain. All I could do was say yes. And with that, she took a knife from the kitchen drawer that was there. That was one of the biggest knives. We have lots of knives in our homes. And she took out that knife, she put it on the table, and she said, you take that knife and you kill me, then you walk out that door. Then I said, no, I can't do that. And she said, if you don't, then I have to. And she took that knife and she came at me. She's a woman who's only 4.5 feet. But that day she became such a strong person. And she's a very sickly woman, but that day she became like a tiger. And she said, you have to die because you cannot live anymore. I cannot let you live anymore. And in the struggle, she was cut, I was cut with a knife. And all I could think of, I didn't know what to do. I was just screaming my heart out. But I remembered what my friend had said, call on His name and He will come. And I screamed for His name, Jesus, I need you. And as I said, Jesus, she fainted and she fell. And that was the day that I had to pack my things and move out from my house. Because of probably my age or the things that I had to go through, in one day, in a moment, I lost my family, I lost my community, I lost my friends, I lost my job. I was declared dead to the MUIS, which is the Council for the Muslims over in Singapore. For the next 2 years, I cannot get a job. Next 2 years, I cannot live anywhere because I was considered as dead. Because every particular about me was wiped out from the government in Singapore. And I had to hire lawyers to go and fight back, to get back my identity in Singapore. And the next 2 years, as I struggle, I'm not a crying person, never was. Because whatever pain there was, I always thought that I can work it out. I worked it out. But when I met God for the next 2 years, I did nothing but cry every day. Cry because God had to break the self-individuality that I had become. He had to take away the pride and the arrogance that I had become. I was a very nice person, but inside, there was so much of bitterness and hatred and anger inside of me, which I didn't know that I had grown up with. So God had to take that all away. For the next 2 years, He washed over me like a mother hen over His cheek. Every day I will receive dreams. I will receive visions of what was going to happen. My brothers, 2 of them, poor things, they were very young at that time. They didn't know what to do. But in order to protect the family valor, they had to kill me. So they tried many ways to kill me. One of my brothers, the one who's in the middle, the first brother in the family, invited me to his home. And God showed me in a vision what they were going to do. They prepared food with poison. And I asked God, what do you want me to do? God said, eat. I said, okay, I will eat. And they were all seated around me, seeing me eat that food. And I was supposed to drop dead, but I didn't. I washed my fingers and I said, thank you, and I walked out. Another time, my mother invited, one of the top imams from the Middle East to come and exorcise this devil that was supposed to be in my life. And the man walks in. He doesn't even walk in very far. He just stands over there, and he sees someone standing by my side in white. And he turns to my mother, and he says that the power that is with her is greater than the power that we have. And my friends, the greatest joy that I have today is not that I know this God. I thank God that I know Him. But the greatest joy I have is that I can communicate with Him in prayer. And this God is not a God when you just communicate in a monologue. It's a dialogue. He talks back and He comes and He's delighted whenever we are with Him. And He longs for us. And when my call came, I didn't know what I was going to call to be. Because by then, I was already 30 plus. And I was thinking like, I'm old, God. I probably was like Moses. God, I'm old. Maybe you should call somebody else. But God called me. And I came into ministry. I came into full-time ministry immediately. And I thank God for the various people that God placed in my life who helped me, encouraged me. And all those things that I said that I lost, God double that to me, 100-fold. Today I have many homes that I call is my home. I call many families that are my family. I call many brothers and sisters who are still, many out there in the world. Not just by the hundreds, by the thousands. They are there who know me and who have encouraged me and helped me. So today I take the message to a world that needs Him. And that was not the only first time that He healed me. I mean, that was the first time He healed me. In 1993, I was asked to go for another surgery in my stomach. I had to have a hysterectomy. Again, I told God, God, you have to work this out. If it's your will, I will go for it. But if it's not, Father, you are the surgeon. You take care of it. And in a couple of days, I didn't have to go for surgery. He healed me. In the year 2000, I was leading a prayer team in Israel. And at that time, when I left for it, I was just told by the doctors that I had cancer in both my breasts, and it was 3rd degree, very aggressive. And they had no choice but to just cut off my breast. And I said, okay, I'll go for this trip. I will come back and we'll talk about it. When I was in Israel, I was in one of the hotels that was facing the Wailing Wall. And as I was facing that, I remembered how Solomon, when he built the temple, he said, even when the foreigners come and face this wall, and if they pray, Father, you will answer them. And I stood by the window of the hotel room, and I said, God, though I am saved, I am your child, I'm still a foreigner. I'm not a Jew, Father. I'm a Gentile. So, Father, as Solomon said, I'm a foreigner. I'm standing here, and I'm believing in you, God. You can touch me, you can heal me. And He did. He put me to sleep the whole day that day. I didn't know what He was doing, but He did His surgery on me. So when I came back to Singapore, no surgery. So I can share many, many testimonies of what God has done, but many that He's still doing today. He's a great God, and He's a wonderful God. And we have much to thank Him for. And as I was sharing, as I was told that today is a Thanksgiving Day, I was thinking of Ephesians chapter 5, verses 18 to 20. Do not get drunk on wine, which leads to debauchery. Instead, be filled with the Spirit. Speak to one another with psalms. And that's what you're doing today. You are singing psalms, and you are worshiping, and you're praying. Hymns and spiritual songs. Sing to make music in your heart to the Lord. Always giving thanks to God the Father for everything in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. And as I was thinking about giving thanks, I have so much to thank God for. I have so much. And people tell me, your testimony is great. It's fantastic. It is. But God, when He came back for Thomas, Thomas wanted. I was a Thomas, and I still am in many ways as I walk with Him. And I wanted, signs. I wanted proof. And without that proof, I didn't want to believe Him. Now, was He upset with Thomas? No. He said, look, touch, feel, and know that I am God. But He finished His sentence by saying, blessed are those who are going to come without seeing me. And there are many, many who are coming to know God today without seeing, but they believe because they have that faith. And there's so many who can thank God, and we can thank God for so many. And in our lives, do we just thank God for only the great things He does? What about the days that I am just able to get up in the morning? I thank God for the health that He's given me. I thank God for the sun that's shining. Thank God for the beautiful day that He has created especially for me. I thank God for the food that I'm able to eat. There are many that have no food. I thank God for the work that I have. I thank God for the friends that I have. I thank God for the family that God has given me. I thank God for everything, for small and great. Because all things are because of who He is. And I thank God not just when the time is good, but I thank Him all the time, always, for everything, even for the bad times that comes my way. Because those times are the times that I learn, that I grow, that I move on with Him. Because if I don't have those bad times, I will never be able to appreciate Him. I'll never be able to learn the things that He wants to teach me, show me how to go. And I need to be drunk, not with what the world has to give, but I need to be drunk with the Holy Spirit, because He is the one that gives us the strength. He gives us the courage. He gives us the boldness. He is the one who moves us. And as I stand here today with you, was I going to be here today? I didn't know. And I don't think that my being here is by chance either, because every moment is divinely arranged. Because it is He who's the author and the finisher of our faith. Because it is He who loves us with an everlasting love. And what I have to share may not be just for you here, but it may be something that you want to take with you, with someone that is going to know that He is God. Has God done great things? He has. And I spent 6 years in Madras in the 90s. I first came into India as a missionary. And I spent 6 years there. And one of my greatest testimonies that I would like to share is one day we, as a team, we were in Madras and we were having crusades. And I remember one night after the team has left, it was the last day of crusade, and I was, asked to speak for that day. And the next day we were supposed to, go on giving out leaflets so that we go tracting to talk about the crusades. But that night, as I was in my room, I was in one of the parsonage, upstairs, and as I was standing there and just talking to God, there was a lady, a young girl. I can't call her a lady. She's about 16, 17 year old, who walks up that spiral staircase, comes to where I am upstairs, and she's carrying a baby in her arms. But that baby has got the skulls, split in two, and the brains were spilling out. And she comes and stands in front of my door. She knocks on my door, and when I open, I see that little girl with her baby in her arms. What do I do? And I remember, my friend, as I shared with you, I told my friend I was dying and I wanted a long prayer. But here, death has already taken place. The baby is dead. And she's standing there and she said, this evening you said your God can do anything. Can your God do something for my baby? She's been married to a guy who's drunk, and he has taken that little baby, 3 or 4 months old, and he's thrown it against the wall. And she's standing before me, your God. You said your God, because she has come to that crusade that evening and she's heard my preaching. And she says, your God, you said you can do. So with tears pouring down my face, I didn't even dare take that baby in my arms. I say, God, with my eyes open, I say, God, she has come, not for me, but she's come for you. She has come believing in you. She's come trusting in you, Father. You have to do what you promised. Your child believes in you, though she doesn't know you, God. And at that time I saw a hand that came out. And this hand, the hand was so beautiful that came, and it just touched that baby, that skull. And as it touched, I saw a recreative miracle take place before my very eyes. And this was in 93 in Madras. You see, the test is not whether we know Him, but do we know Him inside of our hearts, that He is really God. And when we say that there is nothing impossible with Him, do we really believe with all that we are? Because there's a world out there, especially India. My cry, God, India for Jesus, and Jesus for India.